I think that if Pac was alive, that it would have been a whole different story. And as much money as Jay-Z has, he still hasn't accomplished what Tupac accomplished before he was at 25 years old.
Hold up. Tupac is a lyricist. See what I'm saying? It's just that he's not one of those lyrical MCs that spit stuff, but his stuff is, he spit deep lyrics that touch your soul.
Big Daddy Kane just lit a fire that's shaking the whole hip-hop game. He didn't just say Jay-Z turned his back on him. He's throwing shade, claiming Jay copied his whole vibe, ran with it, and left him behind. But wait, it gets messier. Kane says Tupac was never rocking with Jay-Z like that. He's saying if Pac was still alive, Jay's whole legacy might have gone down a different road. Back when Jay-Z was still coming up, not even 25, he went from opening shows for Kane to taking over the charts. But the ones who helped him climb that ladder, Jay left them in the rear view without a second thought. Now Kane's finally speaking up, and what he's revealing links straight back to an old school beef that most fans forgot about.
You got to go back to Brooklyn's final. I was dead set against it. I was telling Jay, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. And he was like, why? And I was just like, Big, he's too strong. I said, but before we take over the world, we got to take over the West Coast. Before we take over the West Coast, we got to take over the East Coast. Before we take over the East Coast, we got to take over New York. Before we take over New York, you got to take over Brooklyn. And he owns all that. And I was like, this is not a whack. So I was just like, I was in fear that I was like, yo, you may come off like this little man. You understand?
That cold tension between Jay-Z and Tupac. Was Jay really inspired by the legends, or did he just use them to level up and then bounce? Kane's words, Pac's old warnings, and years of silent drama are starting to expose a much colder side to Jay's empire. And this is just the warm-up, because what Kane said next flips the whole story. Before the billions, the Grammys, and the arenas packed wall to wall, Jay-Z was just another hungry MC trying to make a name. And the first one to give him a real shot, none other than Big Daddy Kane, he wasn't just a legend, he was the plug. Back in the early 90s, Big Daddy Kane was more than just a mentor. He was Jay-Z's plug into the spotlight. During his Chocolate City tour, Kane brought Jay along and let him spit freestyles on stage while he switched outfits. For a rookie like Jay, that kind of exposure was huge. And Kane didn't stop there. He dropped tracks with Jay and even shopped his demo around to a bunch of labels. But here's the crazy part. Every single label passed. They said Jay's style wasn't marketable. Still, Kane had faith. He saw the raw potential that the industry couldn't see. And eventually, Jay-Z found his lane and rose all the way up.
Me and Pac went in the studio and did a song together. And then them little dudes.
Outlaws.
Yeah.
Outlaws.
They came, like, as soon as we got there, they came up to Pac talking about, yo, Lauryn Hill dissed you, Mobb Deep dissed you.
But the higher Jay climbed, the more Kane's name started disappearing from the story. In Jay's interviews, documentaries, even his book Decoded, Kane only gets a quick little shout out. No love, no tribute, just a throwaway line. And fans definitely noticed the cold shoulder. Things got even tenser when Jay dropped a bar on Do It Again that sparked real controversy. Seeing the same ish happen to Kane, 3 cuts in your eyebrows trying to wild out. Sounds slick, right? But Kane was famous for those exact 3 eyebrow slits. Was Jay throwing shade? He never said a word. Kane played it cool in public, but that silence, it said everything. And just when you think it couldn't get any messier, Tupac was watching this all unfold, and he wasn't having it. While Kane was putting Jay-Z on, Pac was already calling out the fake industry moves. He saw Jay's rise as shady from the jump, and he made it very clear it didn't sit right with him. People close to Pac say he straight up didn't like Jay-Z, and it wasn't even personal at first. It was about principle. Pac stood for music that had meaning, truth, and real emotion. But to him, Jay was part of a new wave, rappers chasing clout, cash, and power instead of putting heart into their lyrics. Pac even called Jay out privately, way before things ever went public. There was this one studio session where someone ran up on Pac talking about Lauryn Hill dissing him, but Pac didn't even blink. He wasn't worried about that. What really had his attention were the sneaky moves artists like Jay were making behind closed doors. And Kane, he's been hinting that if Pac had survived, Jay-Z's whole come-up might have looked way different. Why? Because Pac had something Jay couldn't copy: presence.
Jay-Z, I heard that no one really wanted to sign him when you were shopping him around the record labels. Is that true?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This was, I want to say, I don't know, 90, 91 maybe. We was, you know, we recorded some songs, probably about 4 or 5 songs on Jay-Z, and shopped them to several different record labels, and they all passed.
Pac wasn't just another rapper spitting bars, he was a whole energy. His words hit your soul. His vibe was raw, real, and unforgettable. Jay? Yeah, he had skills, but not that same deep connection. And Pac saw right through it. Some fans believe Jay stayed away from going head-to-head with Pac because he knew Pac was wild, fearless, and wouldn't stop. But the tension, oh, it was heating up. And when Jay dropped a track with Biggie, that move lit a fire under Pac that he couldn't ignore. And what came next? It kicked off a beef that flipped the entire game upside down. In 1996, Jay-Z and Biggie dropped Brooklyn's Finest, a track that was meant to rep New York rap, but instead, it stirred up one of the most dangerous beefs in hip-hop history. At that time, the East Coast versus West Coast war was already blazing, and Tupac was dead center in the heat. So when Jay teamed up with Big, Pac's #1 rival, it sent a message loud and clear, whether Jay meant it or not. On the track, Biggie spit the line, "If Faye had twins, she'd probably have 2 Pacs." That bar hit like a bomb. It was a slick shot at the wild rumor that was flying around, the one about Pac and Faith Evans, Big's wife. And Jay, he was right there on the same record. Even if he didn't pen the line, just being on that track, that cosign spoke volumes. Irv Gotti, who was close to Jay at the time, actually begged him not to release it.
And it's funny because before he performed the record, he was like, yo, no disrespect to the dead, but you just can't say whatever.
Oh, so he actually performed it after Pac passed?
Yeah. Yeah, we was at the Apollo. It was, I will say this, if you can find anybody who was at that show and the Apollo was packed, they will tell you that it was absolutely crazy, the things he was saying. I was like, Lord Jesus. Like when you know when you hear something, it's one thing, but then when you hear it performed, it's like, jeez. It was super tough.
He saw what was coming. Irv warned Jay, saying Biggie was already a giant and throwing more gas on that fire could blow up in their faces. Irv's plan, lock down New York first, then worry about the West. But Jay didn't listen. He dropped the track anyway, and boom, everything changed. Pac felt the heat, and he wasn't just mad at Big, he felt straight up betrayed by Jay too. To Pac, it looked like a double team, 2 NY giants teaming up against him, and in Pac's world, loyalty meant everything. Cross that line, and you're done. From that moment on, Jay was in Pac's sights, and the response? Fast, fiery, and impossible to ignore. Jay didn't clap back right away, but that silence, it hit harder than a diss track ever could. Pac didn't waste a single second. After Brooklyn's Finest dropped, he came swinging hard. He called out Jay-Z by name on tracks like Bomb First, My Second Reply, and Fuck You, Friend. Making it crystal clear, Jay was now a target in Pac's war zone.
And then what Big did, which I was like, that's why Pac was on Jay, because of Brooklyn's Finest. If they have twins, you probably have 2 Pacs. Get it? 2 Pacs. And Jay's on the record with him. So now he's like, you ain't no like me, Jay-Z. Then he start bombing on Jay.
But what really shocked fans wasn't Pac's energy, it was Jay's silence. While Pac was firing on all cylinders, Jay didn't say a word. No diss track, no shady interview, nothing. At first, folks thought Jay was just being calculated, trying not to add fuel to a fire he didn't start. But behind the scenes, a whole different story was going down. Turns out Jay had actually written a savage response track called Scathing. According to DJ Clark Kent, the lyrics were brutal. Jay was fully ready to go bar for bar with Pac. But here's the twist. He never dropped it. Why not? Some say Jay didn't want to be the guy who came for a man who had just passed. Others think he was playing the long game, waiting, plotting his next move. But one thing's for sure. Jay did perform Scathing live at the Apollo after Pac was gone, and those who were there say the bars were vicious. Clark Kent even called it chilling. Jay opened the set by saying, "No disrespect to the dead, but you just can't say whatever." And with that, he let it all out. No holding back. about showing he wasn't scared to stand his ground, but fans weren't buying it. They questioned the timing heavy, like why wait until Pac was gone to finally say something?
The story is that Jay was gonna try to perform in Vegas, but Pac was in Vegas, and him and his dudes now. And they wasn't gonna let Jay-Z come out the hotel. They found out where Jay was at. And Jay wasn't gonna come out the hotel. He was gonna miss that performance or whatever like that. Do that concert, and Jay was scared of the motherfucker. Jay wasn't coming out that hotel until he got clearance.
This wasn't just rap anymore. It felt personal. Jay clearly had something to prove him, but the way he did it, it rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. And once Pac's crew caught wind of what Jay pulled next, things got even grimy. Behind all the flashy lyrics and power plays, there were whispers that Jay-Z was actually scared of Tupac. Not just in the booth, but in real life too. Diddy's former bodyguard, Gene Deal, dropped a story that shocked fans. He claimed Jay once refused to leave his hotel room in Vegas because Pac and his crew were in town. Jay was booked to perform, but once he heard Pac was close by, he canceled everything. Gene said Jay wouldn't even step out the room until someone told him it was safe. That right there showed how deep Pac's presence really ran. This wasn't just rap beef, it was respect, fear, and real street weight. Jay had the bars, sure, but Pac had that undeniable force. You couldn't copy it, you couldn't fake it, and it made folks nervous. That kind of fear made Jay's silence look real different. Was it a smart chess move, or was he just shook? Either way, while Jay stayed quiet, his jealousy was boiling, and it wouldn't be long before another major rapper called him out straight up. Years later, Nas dropped a bombshell. He exposed a private convo that showed how Jay-Z really felt deep down. In an interview with Vibe, Nas said Jay straight up told him he thought he was better than Biggie. And he didn't stop there. Jay also said Tupac and DMX weren't even real lyricists. Nas couldn't believe it. He told Jay right then and there, Pac was the greatest. Period. That moment confirmed what a lot of people had been whispering for years. Jay wasn't just out here trying to win, he was bitter. He didn't just want the top spot, he wanted to be crowned undisputed, even if it meant talking down on the legends who laid the foundation before him. Instead of paying respect, Jay started flipping the story, trying to rewrite history to make himself look like the king. And to fans, that wasn't confidence, that was shade. It made Jay seem less like a worthy peer and more like someone trying to wipe out the competition after they were already gone. And the timing, it felt too perfect, cold, calculated. But Jay wasn't done playing chess. His next move had people wondering if it was loyalty or straight betrayal. Even after Pac and Biggie were gone, Jay stayed tight with Diddy. And that raised a lot of eyebrows, especially with those old rumors about Diddy being tied to Pac's death. While others backed off, Jay stood firm. Diddy even hyped Jay up in public, saying he filled the shoes of Pac. It sounded like a torch being passed, but to a lot of folks, it felt fake. Then boom, Cassie's lawsuit hit in 2023, and just like that, Jay flipped the script. Now he was saying they weren't even close friends. Fans were left speechless. How do you go from calling someone brother to acting like you barely knew them? To a lot of folks, this was classic Jay-Z, playing the long game. He stays close when it benefits him and vanishes the second it doesn't. His silence during Diddy's drama, followed by sudden distance, didn't look like loyalty. It looked like strategy. And when you connect that to everything Big Daddy Kane and Tupac had warned about, it's starting to look less like coincidence and more like a pattern. Now the pieces start falling into place. Kane opened doors for Jay-Z. Pac warned everyone about fake loyalty and snakes in the game. And in the end, both of them got pushed aside while Jay climbed even higher. Kane didn't just fade out, he got quietly erased from the storyline. And Pac, he didn't just beef with Jay, he saw him as a symbol of everything fake in the industry. Jay-Z didn't just rise to the top, he stepped over the very same people who helped him get there. And now, with more stories leaking out, that pattern's looking real clear. Jay stays cool until it stops serving him. Then he cuts the cord and rewrites the past. Kane's quiet truth and Pac's explosive warnings weren't just old memories. They were red flags. And fans, they're finally starting to connect the dots. So now the question is, was Jay-Z always the mastermind behind his rise, or just the slickest player in a game built on silence and cold strategy? One thing's for sure, Jay's success wasn't just about bars. It was about timing, knowing when to flip the script and exactly who to cut off. Now the picture's clearer than ever. Jay-Z didn't just build an empire. He might have built it on silence, forgotten favors, and friendships left in the dust. Big Daddy Kane handed him the mic. Tupac called out the whole game he was playing. And now, decades later, their voices are echoing louder than ever. Fans are asking the real question. Was Jay just surviving a cutthroat industry? Or did he cross lines that can't be uncrossed? Jealousy, betrayal, cold strategy. This ain't just gossip anymore. It's a piece of the legacy that's finally coming into focus. So what do you think? Was Jay-Z just a mastermind, playing chess while everyone else played checkers? Or did he burn bridges to build his throne? Drop your thoughts in the comments. We want to hear it all. And don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a story the industry tried to bury. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.